In the Karen Reed case in week 3, the defense attorneys continued to put their case in through the Commonwealth's own witnesses.
I need to know more about this case, so I'm hoping you'll teach me.
Okay. The Karen Reed case has been getting big headlines in the Northeast, but people elsewhere may not know a lot about it. So we're going to both advance the case and do a brief summary. I'm attorney Andrew Myers, and joining me is Southern California attorney Yoli Medina. Yoli, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Now, I'm in the greater Boston area. I've been in the greater Boston area for 50 years, and the Karen Reed case has been huge. But as I talk to people like yourself out in California, and you're a bright person and you're up to date on things, I guess the people in Southern California just haven't been following the case that much, have they?
I don't think so. And it's interesting because the attorney for Karen Reed is from California, right?
That's right. As I mentioned in our last episode, originally the charges against Karen Reed were just motor vehicle homicide, which can get you a few years behind bars, or if you have a good defense, it's all waived. But then when they amped the charges up from the motor vehicle homicide to second-degree murder, she understandably got kind of nervous and amped up, and she did a ton of research, and she found Los Angeles attorney Alan Jackson, who I'm sure you heard of before me.
Yeah, I've heard of him.
So she has 3 attorneys, really, Attorney Little, but she also has David Yannetti, who is an excellent attorney in Boston, an excellent defense attorney. He and I graduated from different law schools, the same year, and he has a fantastic reputation. But yes, Los Angeles attorney Alan Jackson is helping her, and the two are working on a team, pretty much taking every other witness. But, I thought to myself, we're not getting as many viewers as we thought we would on this case, and maybe it's because, people would like some background. So let's take a look at some background on this case. And this is a summary I put together for myself when I started following the case, around the holidays of last year. There's just so many players and so many allegations that it made no sense. So from reading various sources, including Associated Press and various newspapers, I put this together. I used to be a reporter, so I can do this. So let's take a look at basically what the case is about before we review some of the testimony in week 3. Now, Karen Reed faces charges including second-degree murder in the death of her boyfriend, Boston police officer John O'Keefe. Prosecutors claim she backed into him with her Lexus SUV and she left him for dead in the snow in the early hours of January 29th, 2022. Yoli, interrupt me as much as you want.
I'm taking notes, so I'll interrupt you if I...
Police officer John O'Keefe died actually in a hospital in Brockton, just south of Canton, Massachusetts. Canton is about 20 miles south of Boston. National attention came to this case, or at least so we thought here. We New Englanders tend to be pretty geocentric. But national attention came to the case when Reed's defense attorneys claimed that law enforcement framed her and allowed the real killers to go free. So Karen Reed is 44. She's from Mansfield, Massachusetts. She was a professor at Bentley, a really good school in Greater Boston. She also was a stock analyst, a financial analyst. So we're talking about a bright cookie here. She now faces charges of second-degree murder, motor vehicle manslaughter, and leaving the scene of a motor vehicle accident causing the death of John O'Keefe. The then 46-year-old John O'Keefe, a 16-year police veteran of the Boston Police, was found unresponsive outside the home of Brian Albert, also a Boston police officer. Brian's brother, Christopher Albert, is a Canton selectman. See what I mean about how there's a lot of players you got to keep track of? Okay. Yeah. After a night out drinking at 2 bars, prosecutors say that Reed dropped boyfriend John O'Keefe off at Brian Albert's house to celebrate, among other things, Brian's son's birthday. The drop-off was said to be sometime after midnight. Now, prosecutors claim that Karen Reed made a 3-point turn in her Lexus SUV and backed into John O'Keefe before driving away, shattering her taillight on impact. Hours later, said to be around 4:30 in the morning, Reed woke up alone. It was snowing. She called her friend Jennifer McCabe, I should say, Brian Albert's sister-in-law, who had no information on John O'Keefe's whereabouts. Reed also called O'Keefe's lifelong friend, Carrie Roberts. Carrie, too, knew nothing about where John O'Keefe was. Reed, McCabe, and Roberts drove over to the Brian Albert house to get to the bottom of things. And when they got there, they found John O'Keefe barely alive in a snowbank. Conviction on a second-degree murder charge requires proof of intent. So prosecutor Norfolk County Assistant District Attorney Adam Lally dredged up evidence that he claims that the couple had a stormy relationship that had begun to sour in the month before O'Keefe died. So remember that's part of the case, that they're claiming that the couple had a rocky relationship, and that the fact that Karen wanted to break up with John provided the element of intent in second-degree murder. So remember that, because that's gonna come in kind of important in about 5 minutes. So there's a big cast of characters. And the case has divided the South Shore of Boston. All of these towns I just mentioned are south of Boston. There are those that say that that's how it happened. Karen Reed had a number of drinks, allegedly, and she was mad at her boyfriend, and she backed into him.
And this was when she was dropping him off at Brian's house, right?
Yes, Brian. Yeah, exactly. Yes. And I guess there are different stories. We don't know what's true. We're just going to tell you a little bit about week 3 of the testimony in a minute. But some people say that she had a headache. Some people say she didn't feel welcome because she didn't know any of the people. And some people say that, and this was actually published in a couple of newspapers, because she allegedly had 6 vodka tonics at the first bar, and we don't know how many at the second bar, that she had a stomach ache. So that's why she was going to drop John O'Keefe off and then go home and sleep it off. So those are the allegations.
Driving?
What?
Driving?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You said 6 vodka tonics?
And that's at the first. And also, I've neglected to mention allegedly 6 vodka tonics plus a shot of something that we don't know.
Is there a bartender that's going to testify to this, or?
There's a bartender, and he's on the witness list. Bear in mind, right now, as we're recording this podcast, we are at the end of week 3 of testimony, and the Commonwealth is not even halfway done with their witnesses.
Okay.
So they're saying this is going to be a 6 to 8 week trial. Could go on longer than that, but as I said in our intro at the beginning, the more the Commonwealth puts its case on, the more the defense is just punching away, and a lot of the facts that go towards the defense are coming in through the Commonwealth's witnesses. So week 3
go ahead. Is the defense punching away through cross-examination?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. The state, the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, is represented by Assistant Norfolk County District Attorney Adam Lally, and he is bringing his witnesses in. Then, as you know, Karen Reed's defense attorneys, David Yannetti and Alan Jackson from your neck of the woods, are then taking turns, taking shots at them through cross-examination. So week 3 brought testimony of a house guest who, she was there. It was Brian Albert's son. Do you have enough characters to keep in mind?
I got it.
Okay. All right.
Brian Albert's son. That's why she dropped him off there, to celebrate the son's birthday, right?
Right. Well, in a second, we're going to hear from Julie Nagel. Julie Nagel was a lifelong friend of Brian Albert Jr.'s. So she was there for the party for Junior. And
how old is Junior?
Oh, they're in their 20s. They're all in
Okay.
their early to mid 20s. So she had been at the house in the later night, early morning hours, celebrating the latter's birthday. She left the party at the Albert house with Matthew McCabe, who was driving, Jennifer McCabe in the front passenger seat, and an RN, actually, but a friend their age, Sarah Levinson, in the rear passenger seat. Julie Nagel testified that she saw something in the yard.
When they were leaving.
Yep.
You've never mentioned that this black object was 5 or 6 feet long until the last hour or so when Mr. Lally questioned you about it, correct?
Yes.
When you were passing the property, you did not think it was a body.
At the time, no.
You claim that you told everyone in the car that you saw something, correct?
Correct.
And your friend Sarah said what? Or something to that effect, correct?
Correct.
And there was no further conversation after that, correct?
Not that I can remember. No.
When you're leaving the property, after leaving the house at 1:45 a.m. and getting into the McCabe vehicle and passing the Albert lawn, you did not think that you saw a person who was in trouble, correct?
No.
Or a person that may have needed help, correct?
I don't know, no.
Is it your testimony now that you said out loud in the car, there's a person who's in trouble?
That's not what I said, no.
You didn't ask Matthew McCabe to stop.
No.
You didn't ask him to back up.
Nope.
You didn't ask him to check on whatever it was.
Objection, Your Honor.
No.
The fact of the matter is, you did nothing, right?
Yeah.
You didn't see a body on that lawn.
I mean, I don't know what I saw, but I saw an object.
You were drinking for hours.
Is that a question?
Yes, you were drinking for hours. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And you were intoxicated as you were leaving that home.
Objection.
Were you?
Yes.
You were drunk, right?
Some would say, yeah.
So this testimony is really important because a lot of the witnesses who were in that same car or others who were at the house inside testified that they didn't see anything. And remember that the prosecution's theory is that Karen Reed dropped John O'Keefe off sometime right after midnight and backed into him and left him in the snow. So many, many witnesses said they didn't see anything. So now comes Julie Nagel. She says, yeah, she saw something. She variously said it was an object. She said it was a blob. And she didn't stand up too well on cross-examination, would you say?
Yeah, no. Did they ever ask her about glasses or contacts? I know they asked her about inebriation, but did they ever ask her about what her vision was like?
I don't think that came up. I think it was enough that she, acknowledged that she'd had quite a few drinks. So now let's get into the conspiracy theory, which is gaining more and more credibility, I must say. Before the trial, now remember, this has been going on for 2 years and a bunch of months. During a pretrial hearing, the defense gave the names of people that were at the Albert home the night of the party, the night that John O'Keefe met his demise, January 28th, January 29th of 2022. The defense said that 3 people had motive, means, and opportunity to kill O'Keefe. Those 3 were Colin Albert, Brian Albert, and Brian Higgins, who is a son.
Brian Albert is the son.
No, we're talking about Brian Albert, the senior now.
Senior.
The homeowner. Okay. Yep. Colin Albert. Are you ready for the plot to thicken a little bit? Colin Albert, Brian Albert, and Brian Higgins, who is an ATF agent who allegedly, purportedly went out for one date with Karen Reed when allegedly she was beginning to have qualms about her relationship with John O'Keefe. Apparently she dated this guy, Brian Higgins, one time didn't go anywhere, but there are those that say that he kind of was romantically interested in Karen Reed. And so the theory is that maybe he had a motive. Anyhow, the defense theory.
Brian Higgins is what kind of agent or what kind of police officer?
ATF. Yeah. He's some people, it's been reported that he was FBI, but if he was, he's secret FBI. He's AT. Anyhow, the defense theory also includes the allegation of a cover-up by lead Massachusetts State Police investigator Michael Proctor, who the defense claims was tight with the entire Albert family. The Proctors and Alberts are said to be one family. Colin Albert testified in week 3 of the trial. Albert was reluctant to acknowledge the Albert family and lead investigator Michael Proctor's family were close, but it came out during cross-examination.
You know Michael Proctor?
Since I was a little kid.
And you've known him well enough to know, I don't want you to tell me or tell the jurors, but you know where he lives.
Yeah.
You consider the Proctor family close to your family?
Yeah.
Yeah.
During the course of, for instance, just as an example, during the course of this event, joyous event at a wedding, you actually sat at the head table along with the Proctor family because you were given the honor of being the ring bearer in Courtney's wedding.
Correct.
Not the best of witnesses, is he? But
yeah.
Anyhow, in a photograph taken approximately 1 month after John O'Keefe's death, Colin Albert's knuckles appeared injured, but Colin Albert claimed that he fell on those knuckles while he was walking outside of a party on an icy driveway. Listen to this.
And I was walking up the driveway and I slipped down the driveway and I tried to catch myself, but I had something in my left hand. So I had tried to brace myself with my right hand and I ended up sliding a little bit down the driveway.
What'd you have in your left hand?
If I remember, it was either my phone or a beverage.
So according to you...
Did you catch that? His phone or a beverage? Okay, here we go.
You fell on ice and injured your knuckles, as we just saw in that photograph, right across the top of your knuckles.
Correct.
Okay. So you fell onto, what, pavement, asphalt?
Yes.
And you braced yourself when you fell.
Which,
your entire
pavement
body
or
weight.
asphalt?
Would you say?
Which, pavement or asphalt, did he fall on?
What's the difference?
I think there is a difference, but that's just in my mind.
All right, hang on a second. Let's finish this up.
Yeah.
By putting your right hand down in a fist, and you injured your right fist, just the top of the knuckles on your right fist when you fell down.
Correct.
Seriously?
Now, let me ask you a question. Yoli, if you're going to fall and you have to brace yourself,
No. You do not have a fist when you're going to fall.
No. You put out your hands because, in the hope you can brace yourself, the palms of your hands have some padding. You don't put your fists out.
It's a neurological response, actually.
Yeah. It's
a protection response. If you
it's
have
innate.
Unless maybe, no.
Well, all right. So this gets deeper. Defense attorney Alan Jackson pointed out that Colin Albert claimed that he had never been in a fight, that he didn't have any violent testimonies. He actually said this on the stand. He'd never been in a fight and he didn't have any violent tendencies. But then they dredged up a video in which Albert taunted members of a group called the Advantage Boys. So here is Colin Albert.
Yo, your Advantage Boys, I will beat all your ass. I promise you, I will you all on. Pull up. You're Advantage, bro. You now.
The fact of the matter is, Mr. Albert, you do like to fight, don't you?
Nope.
The fact of the matter is, you showed up at another hearing, at another proceeding, to
I have a
testify,
question.
and you showed up with busted knuckles then too, didn't you?
Do not remember.
Your question, Yoli. Your
So
question.
my question is, this information about his threat to the Advantage boys, that was introduced as like impeachment because he
Yes.
said, okay,
Yes. Absolutely. Exactly.
okay.
Thank you for keeping me honest legally.
Yeah, I just want to make sure.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right to point that out. And it was interesting that he said that. Again, going back to Ms. Nagel, a lot of the witnesses said they saw nothing. They saw nothing when Mr. O'Keefe was said to have been out in the snow all night. And so Julie Nagel, her testimony was very important to the state. But she admitted that she was drunk. So, I mean, my point is that, and I see that other people are saying the same thing, that the state's own case seems to be crumbling. Now they're only halfway through, but most of the witnesses to this point have been all of these people, the McCabes and the Alberts and the people that were at the party. And a lot of legal observers are saying, wait a minute. Hold the boat here. Where's the evidence? Where's the evidence that the SUV backed into him? Where's the evidence that because of the force of impact of a vehicle that he was injured to the point where he was in the snow all night? Where is this forensic evidence proving that there was an accident and that accident caused his death? And that Karen Reed, none of this has come in yet, and we're 3 weeks into the case.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So the prosecution has not introduced any evidence about her intentionally backing in to O'Keefe because she wanted to break up with him.
Well, not there. There's been some direct there's been some direct testimony by some of these people, but one of the problems is that there's really been no direct evidence of any of this, and we're 3 weeks into it. Week 3 closed out with the testimony of Matthew McCabe, and this will answer your question. On cross-examination, Matthew McCabe, given reluctantly, and he really fought, as you saw some of the other witnesses fighting with the defense attorneys, but he disputed 2 of the central themes of the prosecution's case. Matthew McCabe was with the group, including John O'Keefe and Karen Reed, that night at the bar, and he said they appeared happy. They appeared to be having a good time. I don't know if you'll recall last week I pointed out that one of the members of the group that was in the bars with them drinking that night, an attorney whose name I can't pronounce, but he said that they were lovey-dovey in the bar to the point where his wife turned to him and said, why can't you be more like that with me? The other thing that Matthew McCabe testified to was when he left the Albert house, he did not see a 6'2" man or anyone laying on the lawn. And he said he was
drunk.
McCabe, he would not that he admitted he drove 4 of the people home from the people that were at that birthday party. He drove 4 of them home, including Julie Nagel, who you'll remember said she saw something on the front lawn. Well, so McCabe is driving, and he says he didn't see anyone on the front lawn, no less a 6'2" man. And moreover, he never heard Julie Nagel, who was in the back seat of his car, say she saw an object, a black blob or anything. He never heard her say anything about anyone being in trouble. So the Commonwealth is 3 weeks into the case, and we don't know where the case is going to go. But at this point, I would say a directed verdict is in order, wouldn't you? I mean, I don't know.
Well, at this point, yeah. I mean, if they have to prove, the charges involve intent, right?
Well, yeah, secondary murder has an intent. And so that's where they were cooking up this, she was unhappy with him. She had dated this other guy, although only once. I mean, single people date, and, if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work on, you move along. But the other part of the intent was that she was angry. They had gone to Aruba right around the holidays. And apparently, and this is just all alleged, apparently, Karen Reed, had seen John O'Keefe kissing another woman, and more than just a peck on the cheek like you do with your aunt or whatever. So they're cooking this theory up, but it's the witnesses so far don't back that up. That's all I'll say. The witnesses so far don't back it up. Now, when I first heard about this case, I'll be honest, I wasn't really paying attention to it beyond the headlines. I read a lengthy article that was in one of the Sunday newspapers that indicated that this was all crazy. She backed into him. She was drunk. She had all these drinks. She backed into him and left him for dead. And these crazy people, including a blogger by the name of Turtle Boy, were going around. And yeah, he's made himself famous. He was the subject for a period of time of a restraining order. It was reported and said that he was using a bullhorn, going outside of the Alberts homes, yelling things into the bullhorn. It was also said that he went to local football games, which, as you know, are very big. And he was, yelling things into the bullhorn, all of which he denies. And so I came into the case kind of reading all this and saying, oh, this is crazy. These people that are defending her are all crazy. But the more I actually read and hear and listen to the testimony, which can be cross-examined, I'm keeping an open mind on this one. And people ask me, what do you really think? What do you really think? And I'm telling you right now, Yoli Medina, I'm keeping an open mind because I don't know. I don't know where this case is going to go. And these are all family members that you're seeing in the audience there.
Oh.
It's a time. Go ahead. What's your question?
This is going to fall on credibility, I think, of
Yes.
everybody, right?
Well, doesn't every trial?
Well, no, not every trial. I mean, sometimes there's video where it shows what happened.
Okay.
And that has nothing to do with credibility. It just has to do with the authentication of the video,
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. And other times there's police officers who keep things, they under the business records rule, they take things as they come. And sometimes there's like excited utterances from people. Mm-hmm. And that's deemed to be reliable. But for the most part, it seems to me, because nobody saw her back into him, right?
No.
There's no video that she backed into him.
No.
Okay. So it is going to rely on the credibility of all the witnesses, I think. Now, was there something wrong with her car that made police believe that, in other words, was there DNA from Mr. O'Keefe on the back of her car?
No, you missed week 2, in which, or was it week 1? Now I can't remember. There was blood evidence in the snow, and they got Solo cups from the neighbor, and they collected the blood evidence with Solo cups.
And did they know where the Solo cups had been before they collected the evidence?
Yeah, they got it from the neighbor.
Yeah, but did they know where the neighbor kept those Solo cups?
No, probably in his cat. Wouldn't you think that they'd call back to the station or the state police and get some kind of an evidence collection container, something that was sterile?
That's the thing about the chain of custody. I mean, it's like you get Solo cups. It doesn't matter. Yeah. Even if they were sealed in plastic, the people who put them in there may not have been wearing gloves, and there's touch DNA in there. I mean, Jesus.
Yeah. And you think that's bad? That they took these Solo cups and they put them in a brown paper grocery bag from Stop and Shop, which is one of our chains in the greater Boston area. And then I don't know where you even get paper bags anymore. But anyhow, they got a paper grocery bag and they took it back to the station and they put it on the floor next to a dirty rag, a rug, and Karen Reed's car. So,
Well, that was his blood, right?
It was his blood, yeah.
So.
Well, actually, now that you mention it, chain of custody, I mean, putting two and two together and using logic, I mean, he was laying in the snow and there was blood around him. We can assume it was his blood, but our assumptions really pass any legal test where you have a burden of proof?
No, you need to have the chain of custody.
Yeah.
We got
Yeah.
these cups. We knew they were sterile because of such and such. You know what I
No.
mean? It's
No.
like you have to have, like, believe me, I know this. You have to have like the chain of custody. Like, you
Yes.
came to, you have
Yes.
to have a chain of custody.
Oh, absolutely. When you in a drug defense, and I, in my earlier days, I did some drug defense cases. You have to know, who took the drug from the scene. They took it back to the police station in some kind of a sterile container. They then put it into a plastic evidence bag. You need to have certification from all these people. Then it was stored in the evidence room where only a few people, it's under lock and key. And then you have to bring it to the court. And all these people either have to testify or there's got to be some kind of a certification that, this is our regular, usual course of action.
Yes.
So,
and actually, in my practice, it's the same thing. I mean, with placental pathology slides, if you have a birth injury, defense is saying that she had something wrong with their placenta and that was the cause of the baby's brain injury. And then they have an expert saying, I reviewed these slides of the placental pathology and it says this, this, and that. Mm-hmm. Okay, so who took the slice, who took the specimen and put it on the slide? How was it curated? Where was it kept? And how was it sent to the expert? Who handled it? All of that has to be like written. And I mean, I've gotten cases settled because of that. They don't think about that. They don't think about the foundation of how this placenta, how the tissue of the placenta got to be on a slide for an expert to review that's thousands of miles away from the hospital where it happened. So
you're not getting any argument from me at all. I mean, I had an entire courtroom full of attorneys waiting to try their cases, furious with me because I refused to consent to a missing piece in that chain of custody. It was a drug defense case, and a Massachusetts State Police narcotics officer, undercover officer, had collected it and put it in the evidence bag and then transported to the chem lab. And we're in the middle of the trial and they asked me, well, he's in a town that's about 25, 30 miles from here. He's on a mission right now. He's on an assignment right now. He just can't come to court. Mr. Myers, of course you'll consent to this, won't you? I said, absolutely not. No. So the whole court was furious with me. The judge stormed back into her chambers. The other attorneys who were waiting to try their cases were furious with me, but I didn't care. They could all go have a nice day because you know what? Now the officer finally came and he was dressed in dirty blue jeans. I mean, he was a great drug agent because he was under. But anyhow, the point is, you don't consent to something as simple as that.
No, you make them prove it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, if you have the proof and discovery and they show you everything, well, then maybe you stipulate if you're convinced. You know what I mean? No.
Well, yeah. But if they've shown you all that stuff in advance, yeah. But that wasn't those were not the facts of my case. Yeah.
So I agree with you. Yeah.
So
wow.
So this is a crazy case, and
it does sound crazy. The solo cups.
Well, there's a lot of crazy things about it, and the fact that the state's own people are not really, going along with their case is just one of those things that makes you scratch your head. So I don't know what's going to happen next. It was really, kind of jaw dropping when Julie Nagel said, well, yeah, I saw a blob on the lawn. Well, come on. Are you real? There were 5 people in that vehicle and she was the only one that saw it. Really? And then,
I guess the fact that she was inebriated is enough. I mean, you don't need, like, were you wearing glasses? Do you wear contact? I guess you don't need that.
Yeah. And, were you inebriated? Yes. Were you drunk? Well, some would say, what's the difference? But would you tell me, Yoli, what's the difference between being inebriated and drunk?
As long as it impairs your ability to your judgment.
Yeah.
And that could be different for everybody.
No, I know, but I mean, she's fighting the way these witnesses are fighting with the cross-examining attorneys. Where she would admit that she was inebriated, but are you drunk?
But
Well,
not
some
drunk.
would say,
Yeah.
oh, come on, come on, man. So I don't know. This is probably the biggest trial I've seen. I've been in this area for 50 years. And
Wow.
it's attracted a lot of attention. It's attracted a lot of focus. It's attracted a lot of talk shows, radio talk shows, podcasts. It's in all the newspapers. So I just assume that it's big, but I do find that our episodes on this case don't perform all that well, and I guess it's because I asked you, and who else did I ask? I asked another podcaster. And I asked our friend Forensic Frenzy up in New York State, and she's like, "Yeah, not really. No, we're not really." And that's not even that far. That's not even that far from here.
No. And the fact that it's a California attorney that's defending
Yeah.
her, I'm curious as to why it's not such. But well, it is interesting. It's very interesting.
Well,
Although there's something about her, and I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I would have to look at her more just to get an opinion. I mean, she's not going to testify probably.
Well, there's talk about that. As you know, 99%. There's Alan Jackson right in the center there.
Yeah.
I don't know if you recognize him, but those are the two defense attorneys on the left with the lighter colored tie. That is Alan Jackson from Los Angeles, and on the right in the blue tie, that's Boston defense attorney David Yannetti. Very good attorney, very, very good attorney. But as you know, trying a case is stressful. And it's good to have co-counsel. It's good to have somebody second seat you. It's good to have someone, maybe alternate. Yeah.
Even if it's watching the jury, that's,
and taking notes and telling you when you get done doing your direct or doing your cross, it's good to have someone there because you're focused on what you're doing, and hopefully you have notes and hopefully you've planned and prepared, but there's nothing like a second pair of eyes. And I think that's what they're doing right here. One of them is asking, did I get it all? Did I miss anything? What else can I do before this witness comes on?
Stop? Should I stop now?
Yeah. Because sometimes stopping is the best thing you can do.
Yes.
When you're defending a case and the prosecution witnesses are croaking your case, you want to get them out the door. Goodbye, see you later. Get the next witness. But no, they're putting their case in through. Oh, and that's the third defense attorney behind Yannetti, the woman in the brown suit and the blonde hair. She's the third attorney. So they have three actual attorneys that are working this case. Karen Reed, she's a bright woman. I mean, she, like I said before, she's a professor at Bentley, or she was. She's a stock analyst, bright woman, had a lot going for her. And I'm going to tell you something else outrageous about this case. This was said in the opening arguments. In the opening arguments, David Yannetti said that when Michael Proctor got her phone without a warrant, he went into it to take a look without any kind of a warrant. But one of the things, and this is according to David Yannetti in his opening argument, so he has to prove this, said that Michael Proctor, the state police investigator, was looking for nude photos of Karen Reed. And that's just, I hadn't heard that anywhere at all. I had not heard that in any of the press coverage, but so that's out there.
How would he get into her phone? I guess cracking it. I mean, I don't know.
Well, they have ways. I mean, unless the phone's locked.
I would imagine most people keep their phone. Well, I don't know what kind of phone she had or whatever, but why would he be looking for nude pics? I don't know.
Who knows? Anyhow, this is a case and a half. This is, by the way, well, actually, when I first moved up here 50 years ago to go to college, I had never heard of the case of Sacco and Vanzetti. Sacco and Vanzetti were two anarchists. I incorrectly said they were atheists last week. They were two anarchists who were tried in this very court, in this very Norfolk County Superior Court in Dedham, Massachusetts. They were tried on a murder case, and some say they were railroaded through and they were hung. They were given the death penalty about 100 years ago. And so this is a very historic courthouse. And then subsequently, someone else came forward and admitted to those murders. So this is a very historical
Courthouse. Yeah.
courthouse.
We have
I've
those.
this is one of the smallest courtrooms I've ever seen in my life. I've actually tried a case. I tried a personal injury case in that courtroom, and it's a tiny, tiny, tiny courtroom. They were going to be in the courtroom next door, which is larger, which is where they usually hold the criminal cases. The civil cases, which, as you know, generally don't have to have the space because they don't have the witnesses and all that. So the courtroom you're looking at right now, that's the civil courtroom where I tried a case. They usually try the criminal cases in the courtroom next door, but the defense attorneys said that the jury didn't get a real good view of the witnesses, and
so they moved it.
So they moved it.
Oh.
Yeah, the state said no problem. We'll just. But and the ones you see in the background, Turtle Boy's not there in this picture, but the ones you see in the back there with their laptops open, that's the press. Yeah, and there's only 6 seats. There are only 6 seats, and they get there at about, some of them get there at 2:30 in the morning, the network guys, and some of them get there at 4:30 in the morning, and they fight that. The police actually had to be called out this third week of the trial because there was a little bit of a scuffle going on. Because, I mean, imagine you work for one of the big, huge networks or one of the big.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
And you don't get there, and you ask someone, "Would you please move?" And so yeah, I mean, 6 seats. That's crazy.
So Turtle Boy got excluded from the press because of certain
his alleged harassment. But then this late last week, late in week 2. He got himself back in. But the judge pulled out a witness list and said, "All right, we'll let you in the trial, but we're gonna exclude you for this witness, and she went down the witness list." So he had to sit out in the hallway and watch it on a screen. He goes on one of the radio talk shows every single night and talks about all this.
Yeah.
In any event, so that's week 3, and I want to thank you very much for bearing with me.
Well, I have my notes, so I think I have at least a understanding of the case, and
Yeah. Well,
I mean those cups that they gathered the blood evidence. I mean, I don't know how relevant it's going to be because it's his own blood.
Yeah, I don't know. In the long run, I don't believe the blood evidence is going to be big, but it just shows. I mean, that's just, I mean, you just, anybody that watches Forensic Files or CSI knows that.
God, I do.
That's not how you do it. I don't know. Okay. So thank you very much for filling in. Lainey will be on her vacation again next time. So hopefully I haven't driven you crazy, and maybe you'll join us again. All right.
At least I got educated on this case, so
yeah, and it's a crazy case. It's an interesting case, and it's going to be going on for at least another 3 to 5 weeks. They're saying.
I'll try to keep up on it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have a good one. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Bye.
Please remember to like and subscribe and share with your friends. Thank you. You have been watching About the Law, a production of the law offices of Andrew D. Myers in Methuen in the Merrimack Valley of Massachusetts and in Derry, just outside of Manchester, New Hampshire. Remember to click the like and subscribe buttons down below. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to share it with your friends and others. If you'd like to talk to me about an injury case, a car accident, a slip and fall, a serious bodily injury case, or some other case, please feel free to contact me. I'd love to talk to you. You can contact us through my website at attorney-myers.com. We have a contact us block, or you can call on one of the telephone numbers we've given there, or you can email me at andrew@attorney-myers.com. The foregoing is offered for informational purposes only. It is not intended as and does not constitute legal advice. Laws vary widely from state to state. You should rely only on the advice given to you during a personal consultation by a local attorney thoroughly familiar with state laws and the area of practice in which your concern lies. This podcast must be and hereby is labeled advertisement in some jurisdictions.
Okay.
And that's that.
All right.
I
So
have to- I have
I'll
to show you. Oh, did you hear the dog barking towards the end there?
no.
Oh, there's a window in this room, and I opened the window. The dog started barking. I'm glad you didn't hear it.